The 1980s and 1990s were Hollywood's golden era for independent studios. Names that promised artistic freedom, blockbuster spectacles, and Oscar glory. But behind the red carpets and champagne toasts, something darker was brewing. These weren't struggling startups. They were powerhouses. One studio swept 5 Academy Awards while already filing for Chapter 11. Another produced the highest-grossing film of its year and still posted a $250 million loss. A third spent $10 million developing a superhero movie that never filmed a single frame. And one company's biggest hit made so much money, it actually destroyed them. From billion-dollar empires built on algorithms to moguls who arrived at Cannes on 200-foot yachts, these studios burned bright before vanishing into the night. Number 1 changed an entire industry forever. Vestron Inc. wasn't just a minor player in home video. It was once the company that controlled 10% of the entire American VHS market. Founded in 1981 by Austin Owen First Jr., a former HBO executive operating out of Connecticut, Vestron started with just 5 employees and a library of films nobody else wanted. The name came from First's daughter, combining Vesta with Tron. Within years, the company had over 1,000 employees and distribution deals spanning 30 countries. Then came the film that would simultaneously make and break them. The script for Dirty Dancing had been rejected by 43 studios. Male executives reportedly dismissed it as irrelevant, but Vestron greenlit it for $5 million. The director had never helmed a feature. Patrick Swayze's contract was just $200,000. The result earned $214 million worldwide. The soundtrack sold 32 million copies. But here's the twist. Vestron didn't own the music rights. When that album became legendary, Vestron saw only a fraction of the profits. Flush with misplaced confidence, First greenlit roughly 20 projects. Nearly all flopped. Major studios launched their own video divisions, demolishing Vestron's core business overnight. Vestron filed Chapter 11 in 1990 and was acquired for just $27 million. They were set to release Pretty Woman before their collapse. That film went elsewhere and became a goldmine. Today, Lionsgate operates Vestron Video as a collector's label. And that was just the beginning. The next studio didn't just have one massive hit. They had back-to-back Best Picture winners. Hemdale Film Corporation was founded in London in 1967 by actor David Hemmings and John Daly, a man who was literally selling insurance when they met. The origin story reads like a screenplay. Hemmings had a spare plane ticket to Hollywood meant for a girlfriend. When the relationship ended, he offered it to Daly. They flew to LA together and started a company. Before producing Oscar-winning films, Hemdale managed rock bands Yes and Black Sabbath. They promoted Muhammad Ali's legendary Rumble in the Jungle. The journey from boxing promoter to Best Picture winner is one of the most improbable trajectories in entertainment history. Hemdale gave James Cameron his first big break with The Terminator. They handed Oliver Stone his decade-overdue chance to make Platoon after every major studio had rejected it for 10 years. That film won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. The following year, they distributed The Last Emperor, which won 9 Oscars, back-to-back Best Picture winners. Yes, really, a bitter legal dispute over home video rights drained crucial revenue. Their French bank withdrew credit after exposure ballooned to $90 million. Over 30 lawsuits accumulated. An involuntary Chapter 11 petition was filed in November 1995. The Terminator and Platoon ended up with another studio on this list. Remember that. But if Hemdale's fall was dramatic, the next entry built an entire city before watching it slip away. De Laurentiis Entertainment Group was the ambitious creation of Dino De Laurentiis, a legendary Italian producer born near Naples in 1919. His father made pasta. Dino left school at 15 to sell spaghetti door-to-door. By the time he launched DEG in 1984, he'd already produced Serpico, King Kong, Conan the Barbarian, and Dooney. De Laurentiis was a larger-than-life showman. During Meryl Streep's audition for King Kong, he turned to his son and said in Italian, "Too ugly for King Kong," assuming she couldn't understand. She did. When Arnold Schwarzenegger auditioned for Flash Gordon, De Laurentiis declared he couldn't use someone with an accent. Lured by North Carolina tax incentives, De Laurentiis built a studio complex on 10 acres in Wilmington, earning the city the nickname Hollywood East. A 1986 IPO raised $240 million. The dream was to rival the majors. The collapse was swift. Most projects were budgeted far below industry standard. The big budget films flopped catastrophically. By August 1987, DEG acknowledged $16 million in debt. Artistic triumphs like David Lynch's Blue Velvet couldn't compensate. DEG filed Chapter 11 in August 1988 with over $500 million in assets. The Wilmington studio was sold to Orion Pictures for $39 million. That studio's story makes this one look like a warm-up. Open Road Films was founded in March 2011 as a joint venture between AMC Theaters and Regal Entertainment Group, the two largest American theatrical exhibitors. This unique arrangement guaranteed Open Road Films access to screens that other indies lacked. The 44-employee company punched well above its weight. The studio released critically acclaimed mid-budget films that bigger studios and tiny indies often neglected. The crowning achievement was Spotlight in 2015, winner of Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. The film grossed $98 million worldwide against a $20 million budget. The Oscar win didn't change the fundamental math. In August 2017, Donald Tang acquired Open Road for just $28 million, remarkably cheap for a Best Picture winning studio. Tang merged it with IM Global, immediately announcing a $1 billion production spend, but he failed to raise the needed $200 million in fresh capital. Films hemorrhaged money. Global Road filed Chapter 11 in September 2018 with $140 million in debt. About 45 staffers were laid off without severance. Raven Capital acquired the assets for $87 million. Tang had once predicted one of his films would be the highest-grossing film of all time. It earned modest returns. But the next entry didn't just lose money once, they filed for bankruptcy twice. Relativity Media was founded in 2004 by Ryan Kavanaugh, who claimed to have cracked Hollywood's code using mathematics. The Monte Carlo model was his proprietary system based on simulations. Variables included actor draw, director records, genre, and budget, fed into spreadsheets reaching 65,000 rows. Films not showing roughly 70% probability of return would be rejected. The reality was less impressive. Analysis found that 78% of Relativity's films were below benchmark returns. One investor later called the algorithm a poor predictive tool. Still, Relativity co-financed genuine hits through studio deals: The Social Network, The Fighter, and entries in the Fast and Furious franchise. At its peak, it was the third largest mini-major globally. The first Chapter 11 came in July 2015 with over $1 billion in liabilities. Relativity emerged in March 2016. Between bankruptcies, Kavanaugh paid himself $2.6 million, while the company failed to pay fees or file tax returns. The second Chapter 11 came in May 2018 with up to $1 billion in estimated liabilities against just $10 to $50 million in assets. The U.S. trustee noted that Relativity's finances were largely a mystery, apparently even to themselves. Today, Relativity operates under new ownership with modest ambitions. The next studio didn't use algorithms. They invented movies that didn't exist and sold them anyway. Cannon Films was purchased in 1979 by Israeli cousins Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus for just $500,000. Together, they became known as the Go-Go Boys for their relentless pace. They fundamentally changed how independent Hollywood operated. Their business model was revolutionary. Golan and Globus would announce films at Cannes, often before scripts existed, pre-sell international rights, then use deposits to finance production. They famously invented movie titles during negotiations, then scrambled to make the films afterward. By 1986, output peaked at 43 films in a single year. Cannon also attempted a live-action Spider-Man film, paying Marvel $225,000 for an option in 1985. They spent over $10 million developing Spider-Man without ever filming a single frame. The rights eventually passed through multiple companies and lawsuits before Sony secured them for the 2002 film. The collapse began with overreach. A 1986 acquisition stretched finances to breaking point. Superman 4 had its budget slashed from $36 million to $17 million during production and flopped catastrophically. The SEC investigated Cannon for fraudulently misstating financial reports, and shareholders won a $33 million settlement. A later incarnation filed Chapter 11 in December 1994. Make no mistake, the next entry made Cannon look restrained. Orion Pictures was created by two immigrants who met at the 1975 Cannes Film Festival. Mario Casar and Andrew Vajna started with desks facing each other in a small office, their wives serving as secretaries. The name Orion was purchased from a defunct company. Per Casar, it has no meaning. What Orion produced has enormous meaning. They purchased First Blood rights for $385,000. That film earned $120 million. Terminator 2 was the highest-grossing film of its year. According to Variety, Orion's films averaged approximately $113 million per picture, possibly an all-time high for any company that ended in bankruptcy. The spending was legendary. Casar arrived at Cannes on a 203-foot yacht. Schwarzenegger was gifted a $12 million private jet. But despite T2 being number one, Orion posted a $265 million annual loss in 1991. The final nail was Cutthroat Island. Production was chaotic. The budget ballooned to nearly $100 million. Orion filed Chapter 11 in November 1995, 6 weeks before the film opened. It earned just $10 million domestically. The Guinness World Records listed it as the biggest box office disaster of all time. But the next entry won Best Picture while filing for bankruptcy 4 times. Orion Pictures was founded in February 1978 by 5 former United Artists executives who departed after clashing with parent company Transamerica. They named it after the constellation Orion because they believed it had 5 main stars. It actually has 7 or 8. Orion became the gold standard for prestige filmmaking. Amadeus won 8 Oscars in 1984. Platoon won 4 in 1986. Dances with Wolves took 7 in 1990. The company led the industry in domestic rentals by 1987. But the balance sheet told a brutal story. By fiscal 1991, Orion posted $63 million in losses with $690 million in total debt. Desperate for cash, Orion sold The Addams Family to Paramount for $14 million. Paramount turned it into a blockbuster, grossing $113 million. Orion filed Chapter 11 in December 1991. Then came the supreme irony. 3 months later, The Silence of the Lambs swept all 5 major Academy Awards while Orion was bankrupt. It was a posthumous triumph. The studio that won Best Picture while filing for bankruptcy now belongs to Amazon. The next entry wasn't a traditional studio, but its collapse and resurrection changed theatrical exhibition forever. Alamo Drafthouse Cinema was founded in 1997 in Austin, Texas, by Tim League, a mechanical engineer who spotted a for lease sign on an abandoned theater during his daily commute. He signed the lease within a week with no business experience. His first venture was, in his own words, an unmitigated financial disaster. The Leagues relocated to Austin with 200 seats loaded in a truck. They opened the first Alamo Drafthouse on May 25, 1997. Initial investment was approximately $150,000 pooled from savings and family. The company built a cult following through its strict no-talking policy and themed screenings. Entertainment Weekly named it the #1 movie theater in the country in 2005. Then COVID arrived. All locations closed in March 2020. 80% of staff were furloughed. Alamo Drafthouse filed Chapter 11 in March 2021 with over $100 million in total debt. The company emerged in June 2021 via sale to new investors. Then in June 2024, Sony Pictures Entertainment acquired Alamo Drafthouse for approximately $200 million. The first time a major studio had owned a theater chain in over 75 years. The old antitrust rules had finally expired, but the final entry didn't just go bankrupt. It triggered a cultural earthquake that changed Hollywood forever. At first glance, the Weinstein Company looks like success incarnate. Founded in 2005 by Harvey and Bob Weinstein after departing Miramax, TWC became one of the largest mini-major studios in North America. They produced or distributed 277 feature films, including Best Picture winners The King's Speech and The Artist. The empire unraveled in October 2017 when major publications reported that dozens of women had accused Harvey Weinstein of serious personal misconduct spanning decades. The cascade was swift. Board members resigned within hours. Harvey was terminated within days. By mid-October, only 3 board members remained. The business collapsed in stages. A $500 million buyout deal fell apart after discovery of an additional $50 million in previously unknown debt. The company's cash position dwindled to less than $500,000. TWC filed Chapter 11 in March 2018 with estimated assets and liabilities each reaching up to $1 billion. The creditor list included surreal names: the estate of David Bowie, American Express for $1.4 million, and a chocolatier owed $133,000. The case was converted to Chapter 7 liquidation that July. The financial aftermath was stark. The total settlement of $35 million was funded entirely by insurers. Of that, $17 million went to a fund for claims divided among over 50 individuals, while $26 million went to attorneys. Victims received less than the lawyers. Lantern Entertainment acquired the assets and rebranded as Spyglass Media. Lionsgate later purchased roughly 200 films for $191 million. The Weinstein Company brand is effectively extinct. The scandal triggered the Me Too movement, creating an industry-wide reckoning that fundamentally changed Hollywood's power dynamics. The studio that won Best Picture twice now exists only as a cautionary tale and a turning point in cultural history. These 10 studios shared something beyond bankruptcy. Some built empires on algorithms, some on artistic vision, others on sheer audacity. Vestron proved one massive hit doesn't guarantee survival. Orion showed that Oscars mean nothing without cash flow. Korolko revealed that blockbusters can return zero profit. And the Weinstein Company demonstrated that no amount of success protects against institutional rot. What unites them is a paradox defining the independent film business. Artistic acclaim and commercial success were never enough to overcome the structural disadvantages of operating without diversified revenue and corporate backing. Were these studios failures, or were they dreamers who simply ran out of runway? How many of these studios had you heard of before today? Which collapse shocked you the most? If you made it this far, you clearly appreciate the strange, tragic history hiding behind Hollywood glamour. So, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about the industry's buried secrets and spectacular disasters. Because sometimes the greatest studios are the ones that burned brightest before vanishing into the night. See you in the next one.